Yeah. So, and then the other thing that we have to mention is Bob Ueker. It's a sad day for professional baseball and for the entertainment industry. For Bob Ueker, 90 years old. For those of you who don't know who Bob Ueker is, he was on Mr. Belvedere. He was also in Major League. He was the broadcaster.
Just a little outside.
Just a little outside. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 16. Anyhow, he also was a Major League Baseball player, and he was famous for saying the best way to catch a knuckleball was to let the pitcher throw it and turn around and pick it up at the backstop. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and his speech made everybody hysterically laugh and cry in a positive way. And his one highlight of his Major League career is he had a grand slam off Sandy Koufax.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. He had a grand slam off Sandy Koufax.
Was that his only home run?
No. It wasn't his only home run.
Here's a question. Worse off. Was it Ueker or Garagiola? Who was worse?
Garagiola was a better player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garagiola was actually the bigger the bigger prospect, believe it or not. Yeah. With him and Yogi was overlooked.
Right, but Garagiola was from the St. Louis area, as was Yogi, wasn't he?
They played on the same fields, but apparently Garagiola was the real deal when he came up. He was the man, and he just never materialized. I don't know if it was an injury or World War II.
He was not a bad player, but he wasn't that. But Ueker told his dad that, there was a $5,000 bonus when he signed his contract, and his dad said, "We can't afford to pay that for them to take you." So, Ueker had some great lines, and he was a regular guest on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I loved it. Very funny.
So I heard this story today. Al Michaels told this story. Howard Cosell was telling a story. It was Michaels, Cosell, and Ueker were doing a game together, and Cosell was getting something wrong strategically in baseball. And Ueker was politely explaining to him why the bunt wasn't appropriate. And Cosell actually listened, which is an unusual thing for Cosell. And he said to Ueker, "I really am listening to you and I appreciate it, but you didn't have to be so truculent." And Cosell said, "Do you know what that means?" And Ueker, without batting an eye, said, "Oh, yeah. It means if you have a truck and you lend it to me, it's a truculent." And that's a great story. And that's Al Michaels told that story today, so I'm not taking credit for it. But that was a great story. But that's basically Bob Ueker. The other story that Michaels told that was really good today on MLB Radio was they were talking about Charlie Finley and his wanting to have those orange baseballs. And they were having a whole conversation about it. And then Ueker said it would work, but they don't know if they have enough sickly horses to get orange horsehide. So that was another Uekerism. So Ueker and Yogi had to be two of the best quotable baseball players in the history of baseball.
Yeah. So. No question. Loved him, and it'll be sad in Milwaukee. They're going to miss him a lot there. I'm sure it will.
The other half of the Ueker thing, and that you should know, is my son Max, the hockey player. We were driving down to a hockey tournament in San Diego, and we were picking up all sorts of games on the radio, and we picked up the Brewers game, and Ueker was doing it, and he was probably 15 at the time, so he may or may not have seen Major League, but he was listening to the game, and he's like, "This guy's fantastic." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "That's Bob Ueker." And I explained to him from Major League. And he's like, "That's that guy?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "He's really good." So my son Max knows Bob Ueker. The other guy we listened to when we were driving down because it was going to San Diego was he couldn't believe Vin Scully was doing games by himself since they were in Brooklyn. So yeah, Ueker made an impression on my son Max, who is hoping to have a broadcast career, which is kind of nice.
That is really amazing.
So yeah, so Ueker is quite the person, and how could you not like, Mr. Belvedere was his butler.
Yeah,
I couldn't figure out what he did for a living in Mr. Belvedere that he could afford to live in Butler, but that's a whole different story. But he lived his whole life almost out when he wasn't playing baseball in Milwaukee, and born and raised there, and went back there and became a Brewers announcer.
Hmm.
Not many Milwaukee, Wisconsin professional baseball players or any professional athletes.
No, not many.